The gospel shows us why we're in such a terrible mess, and it shows us that God is powerful enough to rescue any of us from this mess. Romans chapter 1 verse 17 was a time bomb that went off in Germany 500 years ago. A monk called Martin Luther had thought it was down to him to make himself right with God. He thought of God as an obsessive perfectionist who would destroy him if he stepped out of line. He later said, "I was a good monk and I kept the rules of my order so strictly that I may say that if ever a monk got to heaven by his monkery, it was I." But secretly, he confessed later, he was angry with God. "I didn't love, yes, I hated the righteous God," he said, "who punishes sinners." God's righteousness, Luther thought, was God standing against him, and it terrified him. But while he was studying Romans chapter 1 and verse 17, God revealed to Luther that he'd got it all wrong. For in the gospel, a righteousness from God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, "The righteous will live by faith." And it was like the light had been switched on. He said, "There I began to understand that the righteousness of God is that by which the righteous lives by a gift of God, namely faith. And nothing was ever the same again. We simply put our trust in Jesus, the righteous one." He said, "I felt like I'd been born again and had entered paradise itself through open gates." It's the difference between do and done, between what I try to do to make myself right with God and what God has done for me in Jesus at the cross. It's God's power of salvation for everyone who believes. And that's why we're not ashamed of it.